Well, welcome to Hannity. Yeah, the crazy Democrats exposed. Let not your heart be troubled. Breaking news, multiple fronts tonight. Oh, the great one, Mark Levin. I just checked in with him. He is fired up, and he will be joining us tonight. Laura Trump joins us tonight. So many of you have been asking. We have the history. 2 days after President Trump is elected, impeachment started. All through 2017, 18, 19. We got it all covered. We're going to play the long version, but you got to tape it because we can't play it every night. It takes too long. Anyway, that's coming up. Plus, mystery surrounding the identity of the non-whistleblower, hearsay whistleblower, who kicked off this insane new Ukrainian witch hunt. One report, Paul Sperry, Real Clear Investigations from Real Clear Politics, claiming that a Trump-hating deep state operative with close ties, to Joe Biden, and Trump-hater, former CIA director, the corrupt Brennan, and staffers working for the compromised, corrupt, congenital liar Adam Schiff. Shocking. And Sperry reports that he also has ties to the very same DNC operative that helped the Clinton campaign, went to the Ukrainian embassy to get dirt on Donald Trump and his associates, and coordinated and colluded with Ukraine to impact the 2016 election. Now, we are now looking down the barrel of yet another national crisis, clearly orchestrated by the deep state, a hit job that will not go unchallenged. And let me be very clear here tonight. Because on this program, now, we're going to wait. We always give due process, presumption of innocence. We're not going to reveal the person's identity that everybody in Washington is talking about until we can independently confirm the facts. That's just fairness. Also, breaking moments ago, another star witness in, the compromised, corrupt, congenital liar Schiff's secret Soviet-style impeachment coup attempt just again obliterated Democrats' narrative. That's why they're doing it behind closed doors. They're getting the crap beat out of them every night. I talked to my sources, another disastrous day for Democrats, and that's why they're staying behind closed doors. That's why they're using the Soviet-style impeachment proceeding. And Democrats are all giddy. Remember Lieutenant Colonel Vindman's interpretation of the call, but we don't really need his interpretation. Well, his boss testified today and literally obliterated and blasted his interpretation and story out of the water today, and more importantly, destroyed the phony lie and narrative that the mob and the media has been pushing, that the transcript was changed. Top national security official, he was the boss, his name is Tim Morrison. He testified nothing illegal took place during the president's call with Ukraine. Quote, "I want to be clear. I was not concerned that anything illegal was discussed." He also interestingly said that the public transcript of the conversation accurately and completely reflects the substance of the call. Wow, that blows the whole thing out of the water. And Morrison reportedly testified that he was concerned the contents of the call would be leaked to the media. Shocking, for pretty good reason, because only this president has already had multiple conversations, let's see, with prime ministers, presidents, heads of state leaked. This has not happened to any other president. So, of course, he was suspicious. You would think this testimony from a key top official would cause at least some of the so-called moderate Democrats, they say they're moderate, to put the brakes on the impeachment madness and psychosis and rage against Trump, but not a chance, because today, despite Morrison's remarks, only 2 Democrats voted to give a green light to the corrupt, compromised, and that's who Adam Schiff is, congenital liar. He's been lying to us for 3 years, Adam Schiff. So with the exception of one congressman named Colin Peterson and Jeff Van Drew, who told you about last night, every other Democrat, take a look at that list, those from swing districts that Trump won, they voted to go along with this madness. With zero due process, none, a compromised, corrupt, congenital liar leading the lawless, unconstitutional witch hunt. Many of the lawmakers on your screen, they all ran on a partisan platform, bipartisan platform. They want to reach across the aisle. They want to work together and focus on fixing and helping the lives of Americans. And some even said that impeachment is a really bad idea. But they went along anyway. When push came to shove and their arms were twisted by Pelosi and company and the squad, they caved, every one of them. Take a look.
It's about both sides being willing to actually say we're going to put aside our political labels for a minute and actually focus on what's best for, we're Americans first.
We need to be looking for solutions right now in this country, bipartisan solutions. When I get to Washington, I'm going to do what John F. Kennedy said. We shouldn't be looking for the Democratic answer. We shouldn't be looking for the Republican answer. We need to be looking for the right answer.
We need to work together, Democrats and Republicans. I don't think it's that hard.
I have always said, to me, I did not get elected to spend the next 18 months on a political process of impeachment.
Words are cheap. They all folded. They all lied to their constituents because the people you saw, yeah, they gave in to the pressure. They're con artists. They're not working for their constituents. Instead, they always told the party line and whatever ship Pelosi and the squad wants, they're going to vote for. That's why they all caved and voted to give this incredible impeachment, obsessed, compromised, congenital liar. Remember, he has total control, that nut, that lunatic that's been lying for 3 years. They did this despite having no public access to any evidence, no hearings, no transcripts, nothing, no due process. These were the rules. Under Newt Gingrich during Bill Clinton's impeachment, this is what Newt Gingrich afforded Bill Clinton. The House openly debated. They held an official vote. The president had the ability to call witnesses. His attorney did submit evidence, build a case. They had a chance to talk to every witness. But the corrupt, compromised Schiff, he just has full, complete veto power. Like a dictator. He can control the witness list, the rules, the evidence, and nothing you can do. No fair hearings, no ability to mount any defense, no rights to the accused. In fact, we don't even know what the charges are. And Schiff, we know, lying to us for all these years, psychotic Trump hater, is the judge, jury, executioner in what is only a public show trial designed to convince the American people that the president deserves to be impeached for what we don't know. We're told the majority of witnesses had heard nothing wrong with the call that we have the transcript to. But they're not going to be asked to testify publicly. Wait, watch, and see. That's how corrupt he is and Pelosi is. This is Soviet Union style on steroids. And so far, it's all been conducted in secret by a guy that is a fact witness and compromised in the very case, caught in more lies than I could even ever count. A guy who's a totally compromised individual himself, because his office, remember, we know they were coordinating with the whistleblower from the beginning. Now, that's just a fact. We'd like to know what was said, where they met. Did he offer an attorney? Did he advise to go to the inspector general? Because, like we said, there are reports revealing that this whistleblower's name and identity was anti-Trump, pro-Biden, a deep state operative, friends with Brennan, with a penchant for leaking. On this program, we're going to independently verify all the information, but what we do know already is chilling. Partisan Democrat colluded with Schiff's office. We need to know what happened. That also, this individual supports Biden and worked for the, Brennan. We're going to learn a lot about Brennan. Trust me, we're learning a lot about Brennan in the days and weeks to come. So Republicans now must demand answers. They must demand to know the extent of this person's contact with Schiff's office. They must demand to know if he abused his power while in government. They must demand answers on his relationship with Biden, Brennan, the DNC. And while they're at it, I think it's time. America needs to now, if we're going to have transcripts released, I want the transcript of every call with sleepy, creepy, crazy Uncle Joe Biden. That's the guy that was involved in a real quid pro quo in Ukraine. We want every call between Barack Hussein Obama and Vladimir Putin after Obama promised more flexibility after his election. I'd also like the transcripts of the calls between Obama and Iranian leaders leading up to Obama making the dumbest deal in the history of mankind and giving the radical mullahs of Iran, the chant death to America, death to Israel, $150 billion. It's time now for fairness. We now need to demand those transcripts, because what's fair is fair, right? And regardless of the whistleblower's true identity, the ongoing witch hunt conducted by Schiff, supported now by all but 2 Democrats, is only the latest in what has been a 3-year lawless, unconstitutional, bitterly partisan coup attempt. They've never accepted the election results, nor did they accept 4 separate investigations that proved, in spite of what they were telling the American people, there was Trump-Russia collusion. And they ignored the dossier of Hillary the whole time, the dirty Russian dossier. Devoid of any justice, totally detached from reality. Americans are fair-minded. That I can say tonight for a certainty. They will see this for what it is. They will see the corruption. Frankly, this is the filthiest and most repulsive, raw political act that, in my 31 years of doing talk radio, in my 24th year here at Fox, that I've ever seen. Just a few months ago, Speaker Pelosi actually told the Washington Post, kind of ironic, impeachment is so divisive to the country that unless there's something so compelling and overwhelming and bipartisan, I don't think we should go down that path that will divide the country. Oh, Adam Schiff said at the time, if the evidence isn't sufficient to win bipartisan support for this, putting the country through a failed impeachment is not a good idea. He's doing it. Gerald Nadler, impeachment should not be partisan. It's partisan because every single Republican today in the House of Representatives stood united and strong against the psychosis and injustice and the witch trial. Everyone, as it turns out, Pelosi, Schiff, Nadler, they lied again. They are major league hypocrites on top of it, controlled by their radical socialist base. Let me tell you how this is going to likely play out. Without any due process at all, the psychotic, rage-filled, Trump-hating Democrats will vote to impeach Donald Trump. And the president will be vindicated in the Senate by probably almost all the senators, if not all of them. Without due process, now the U.S. Senate needs to send a very loud message to their corrupt House colleagues and teach them a lesson about the Constitution. If you're not going to allow due process, we will dismiss this on day one. So far, that is every indication will happen. And the best part is, today, we are 1 year and 3 days away from the election. That's right. And that means that we, the American people, you, the American people, not Schiff, not Pelosi, not Nadler, not the squad, not AOC, you get to decide. And you get to re-elect Donald Trump. The people will get their say. Now, who knows what they're capable of in the next year, because we know what they did before the last election and after the last election. But the cold, hard truth is anything between now and November 2020, it is political noise and political theater. They have done nothing for you, the American people. They've done nothing. They have just tried to hate Trump harder and harder every day. And they've been frustrated because they haven't been able to get what they want. But the sad reality is Democrats, the mob and the media, their allies in the swamp, they've never sunk so low. Should be a sad day for America. I'm not so sad because I think all they're doing is helping Donald Trump. They're becoming, by their actions, the biggest contributor to the Trump campaign, re-election campaign. Now, they have completely and totally detached themselves from reality. Their sole mission surrounds this irrational, psychotic, never-ending hatred of President Trump, the mere name of which just triggers them all. And by the way, there's also a deep hatred for we, the people, the smelly Walmart shoppers, the irredeemable deplorables that cling to God, I believe in, our guns, our Second Amendment rights, our Bibles and religion. Yeah, there's a deep contempt for Americans. Now, this vote, by the way, this is just the latest coup attempt. One middle finger, one more deranged scream and yell from a group of people throwing a temper tantrum because they lost and never accepted the results of the 2016 election and were let down by 4 separate Russia investigations. They were so counting on Robert Mueller to do this for them. Now they're going to do it themselves and make it up as they go. We'll have more of my monologue in a moment. First, joining us with all the details of what happens next. In other words, the hitchhiker's guide to this impeachment coup attempt.